Welcome to the Smorgasbord podcast, episode 20. Today we're back with Alan. Alan, how are you doing?
I'm alright.
I'm okay. Are you far from the phone?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm outside, so it might sound like I'm far, but I'm actually like right in front of it.
Oh, okay. Well, today we were talking about a lot of the whole Black Lives Matter movement and the whole thing last episode. And today I wanted to bring up like the entire, because obviously it's obviously an election year, and though it's forgotten, people have been voting recently, and see who's gonna be, if it's gonna be Trump again or somebody else or whatever. And my mom, a big reoccurring debate I have with my mom is if you don't vote, are you still practicing? Are you throwing away what your ancestors worked for? Now she says yes. I say no. And my argument is, at the end of the day, they fought for the choice to say no of not to being rejected at the door, and to choose a representative is something you should practice. But at the same time, if both people don't represent you, you shouldn't be forced to make that choice, and you should be able to withhold that choice and not send your name on things that they do, because you might not always agree with them.
I agree with that one right there. So, yes, no. So, I agree with your point right there. Our ancestors fought for a choice to vote, and not everyone votes, which is also it's like a yes and no type of situation. Like people have brought up the point, if you're silent about the situation that's happening in the world right now, you're part of the problem, right?
That's not how that works. Well, yes and no. Yes and no, personally.
I say no, you're not throwing it away. Because one, it's your choice, and you're just like the people who are staying neutral in this situation with George Floyd. People say, if you're silent, you're part of the problem, blah, blah, blah. Well, if you don't vote, does that make you a part of the problem? Because then people want to put, oh, look who y'all voted for. But I can guarantee half of the people who are saying that didn't vote.
And yeah, and I'm guilty of that in that respect. And what I meant, but I think that's okay to say that, because if you vote for somebody, like if you voted for Trump, voted for Hillary, like the 2016 election, whatever they did, whatever law they passed, or action they took, whatever they did, in some way, shape, or form, your signature is tied to that. You will be forever connected to all the choices you make. So that's what I meant when I said back then in 2016. I said when it was, and the funny thing is that people forget about this. The Mexican kids at the border in the cages. In some way, shape, or form, either you voted in that election, you did it. You voted for Trump, you voted for Hillary, or you didn't vote. In some way, shape, or form, you played a part in the outcome of that, and essentially, you landed those kids in them cages.
Exactly.
And my mom hates when I say that, because she doesn't like it, because she doesn't want to be seen as someone who would do that. Because at the end of the day, every voter is selfish, and that's just what happens. They're not going to think about a lot of people don't. Though they say they claim to say that they think of the big picture, they don't think of the big picture. They think of the big picture of themselves and what affects them and their people. So, and it's okay, because it's naturally going to be selfish, and that's just what it is.
Like I said in the last episode, we're humans, we're power hungry, and when we get power hungry, we get selfish, and when we get selfish, we're blinded by all of that. So yeah, and could I go back to the point that we had last episode about how black people were more racist to you than white people were?
Yeah.
Because I had a point last episode. So if you look back in history, you saw how our black ancestors weren't like that, right?
Yeah.
And I brought up how the system put us in those areas where we were only by black people and only by violence and stuff like that, where we inherited that.
Yeah.
Most of us grew up in the suburbs, right?
Yeah.
And we were perfectly fine. We're growing up in the suburbs. Our grandfathers and mothers and stuff like that. My parents grew up in the hood. Like,
yeah, my mom, she grew up like in a lot of places that were poor, kind of. She grew up military, is what she says.
Yeah, like my mom and dad grew up in the hood, to where they were even affected by that violence and stuff that was happening.
Yeah.
Like my dad, he would hide in the bushes and shoot BBs at the rich kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
My mom, she had this quote unquote whooping stick, which was a metal pipe wrapped in duct tape.
Yeah, and again, that's a whole thing. That's a whole thing that needs to be talked about. It's like the black community, how they beat their children is a slave thing. It's a slave thing in the aspect of like they beat their kids, and if you it's okay. First of all, if you whoop your kids, that's fine. But the way I see black parents and they beat their children, they beat them like slaves, like not on their butt, they beat them on their back and they hit them like some slaves. When I see that, it makes me want to give them the cleanest left hand ever because that like especially when I see him in public, that's a big thing me and my dad had seen. It's like he's a kid. He's supposed to freaking Skittles, you dumb motherfucker. Like,
We're not supposed to beat the mess out of him, like, and then.
But like the thing is, they beat the mess out of them for being them. That's the thing. They beat the mess out of them for being human and being curious.
Their ancestors went through slavery. Well, what are you putting through your kid right now?
That's what I mean.
The kid's gonna grow up fearing you.
That's what I mean. And I'm like, that's what I mean. Like they have that slave mentality. Like if they beat their children senseless, like and they leave like scars. That's what I mean. Like in my mindset, this is how I would do it. Like for me, as a parent, I really wouldn't beat them that much. I would definitely wouldn't beat them in public for being human. One, that's never. And two, the only time I would beat them is if I would beat them for lying. And even then, it wouldn't be a thorough lashing across the back with a belt or with other weapons. And I'm like, why? Like, why are you getting hit with the freaking with like a stack of like wood? Why is that a thing? Why? And people swear it's okay because they say it's a discipline. And I'm like, what are you disciplining them with? Fear? Because that's what that is. That's literally all that is. There is no love. There's just fear. And then there's going to come a time when that fear fades and it's going to be like, hey, yo, screw it. Whatever happens, happens.
Exactly. And I think that's what makes like more rebellious children.
That's what strict parenting is. And it doesn't even have to be a physical thing. It can be mental abuse too. Because like we'll go there. Because like for example, the biggest problem I have with strict parenting is that they think it works, and in reality, it is the most backfired process ever. And the fact that they have not put two and two together is nothing short of a miracle. So because basically, any person who has like a really strict parent will tell you that they're not allowed to do anything. And when you strip someone to doing anything, and then you give them a hint of freedom, they're going to do everything. And I mean everything. That's what I mean, Alan. When you and I get that freedom, we're going to do a lot of dumb things. Why? Because we never know when that freedom's going to be taken away again. And we'll never know when we're going to have another opportunity like that. So when we're going to have that opportunity, we're going to take it. That's what makes a lot of people hoes. That's what makes a lot of people sneaky. It's what makes a lot of people smarter and more clever. It's what makes people saying, okay, I'm never going to come back here again. Because I know when I come back here, my freedom out there will be taken away the minute I step through this door. So that's a big problem I used to talk about that is never discussed. And it's like, why? Is it okay? Because my mom did the same thing. I've talked about it before on here. I've said it probably a lot, and it sounds like I'm bitching, but it's just what it is. Alan, you're worked like a horse, and and while it's okay, I get it. You're growing. You want to be taught all these skills. You're also a damn child. When it comes to growing up, this world is making us grow up a hell of a lot faster than any generation before us. So when it comes to maturing, I think we're fine in that department. You need to let us, do some dumb shit and go to the store sometime and just be us, instead of sitting here being like, "No, you got to get a job. You got to help with the bills. You got to do this, and that." And these parents who want to put the weight of supporting them on them. Like I said, like say Megan, she's helping them pay bills. Why? I get that if you want to help, you want to help. But to force your child in that position, be like, look, you have to help me. You have to get a job to help pay for my things. I didn't ask to be here. As messed up as that sounds, and as messed up as much as that hurts my mom's feelings, hurts any parent's feelings, we did not ask to be here. None of us. You didn't even ask to be here. Why are you expecting us? That's the equivalent of dumping off like an entire plant at your house randomly one day, then expected to be taken care of it, and then have the gall to be like, okay, now water yourself. And I'm like, I didn't ask you to bring me here. I didn't ask for none of this.
No, the point that you used that some parents force their kids to do all that other stuff and the choosing thing. So my dad is like having a lot of problems with his body. Like he strained his back. He had knee surgery, so he can't like move as well as he used to. That's why I'm choosing to help him with those things. Is because if something does happen, I know what I have to do when he hurts himself again or something else happens with him. Because that was recent. So
no, yeah, no, and that's what I mean. That's what I mean. You're choosing to help them because you want to help them. But those parents who force you to help when they're like, because of their own mistakes and they're incapable of taking care of themselves and they just got handed a whole life and they're just like, okay, you have to support your own life because I know I can't do it. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense because at the end of the day, you brought me here. I didn't ask to be here. You could have had there was 15 steps for you to prevent me from being here, but you went through with it, and now I'm here. So if you want to go ahead and put this on me, I'm going to tell you, no, you did this. You can figure this out. And if not, I will do what I can to make sure I survive. And it's not going to be an us thing. It's going to be a me thing.
Exactly.
That's what I mean. So as far as when it comes to like wanting to help and wanting to help your parents, all that stuff, that's 100% fine, and that's a good thing. You want to help them, want to help them. But to be forced upon that, to be forced upon growing up because your parents failed to, and failed to be organized in a way that is so drastic that you brought an entire life into this world and you weren't even ready to support your own, is ridiculous, and it's point blank selfish, and it's wrong in my eyes. And that goes with if you're emotionally unable to teach somebody and have the patience to learn something, because again, no matter what you believe in, we ain't gonna come in this world knowing how to tie our shoes.
Yeah.
We're not gonna come in this world knowing how to do all these things. And so when we have questions, we're gonna have questions. And that level of maturity and patience is something that a lot of parents, including my own, lacked. So I was just like, bump it. I'm not wasting. Like my dad has that patience. He's just like, go ahead, try again. I can wait. When I came to my mom earlier on, she was like, why can't you do it? Get out of the way. I do it myself. Because I was never learned. I never taught. I didn't know how to learn tie. I never learned how to properly tie my shoes till I was like 12, and I still have trouble tying my shoes because they still go untied.
Exactly.
So when it comes to that, again, that's just one aspect of the level of maturity of having patience, of being for one to support a whole nother life that's new to something. Like if you're helping someone fix a car, and then they mess up because they don't know, they never touched a car before, you don't go there and you be like, you worthless piece of shit. You be like, okay, you open the hood, you check the engine, here's where it is what it looks like. You do that, you walk them step by step, and then you let them do it. If they mess up, they mess up. But to
Because you
sit
gotta
up there and
learn.
be like, you should just know how to do it because I know how to do it is selfish and it's ignorant.
Yep.
So again, that's just like this two like big and small points at the same time because you could go on about all the things they do and a lot of and the biggest mistake, and it's something that I told my mom earlier on. It was that stop trying to prove to the world that you're a good parent because the only person who can truly make that judgment is your kid.
Exactly.
And that's what a lot of this is the biggest thing people don't understand. At the end of the day, you can make them do all this stuff. You can buy them all these things, but again, if your child ends up killing themselves, you failed. I do not care about what you bought them for Christmas. Your kid killed himself. You failed because you were because
Point
and
that parents like to try. They try and buy their child materialistic things
yeah.
to.
And then you go, but you end up with a kid that don't care about that, like me. That's what my mom did. Earlier on, she would degrade me, then throw a Xbox in my face. I'd just be like, okay. End of the day, I can buy 50 of these, and they say like, I love you, I do this, and this for you, and I'm like, okay. If a kidnapper did that to its like person it's kidnapped, does that make him a good person or does it make him manipulative? So that's me. When it comes to the materialistic things, personally for me, they don't mean shit to me. You're gonna have some people who are like, "Oh, you buy me something, that means you love me." In reality, I'm just like, "Look, man, if you ain't teaching me nothing and you ain't helping me be better in my own way, or I ain't learning, I ain't getting a positive thing from you, why am I here?" And that goes from any relationship. Let it be a friendship, let it be your parents, let it be a boyfriend girlfriend relationship, whatever it is, a business, whatever. If there is no benefit from it in any way, shape, or form, even just a little, why are you here?
Yeah.
There is no reason to sit up there and think to be stuck in one for you not to be happy. If you're not happy, go, dude. And that's to everyone out there if they're stuck in any relationship or they feel like it needs to be worked on, just say it. Because they're older, don't make them right. Trust me, as someone who has been literally proven adults wrong at the age of 6 over simple things, trust me, age don't mean wisdom. They don't mean shit. And the greatest thing you could know is that you don't know anything at all. And a lot of people forget that. So like that's my stance on it. What are your thoughts on it?
I 100% agree that some parents really need to like figure that out. As just people, not just like parents, as people. And some parents may have had that same exact thing happen to them when they were kids and living with their parents. So I think that's like in a way inherited with them.
Yeah, it is.
So like that's why they don't see such a problem with it, because if it happened to them and they ended up fine, they're like, why won't it happen to my child? Blah blah blah. Well, the answer to that is times change, people change. The world has already changed enough, like good and bad ways. But you also have to change with the times. Like so many people say that, and no one actually acts on it. My parents, I personally think my parents are good parents. They try and help me. Is it sometimes where I feel like they go overboard? Yes, but something that I've seen in this world need serious training. Like they need help. Like I can't even imagine how it feels to have a child who has everything, right? But missing that one thing, which is parental support.
Yeah. Like, I don't
And that's
understand. One thing I will never understand personally, and I can't put it together in my mind, is how you could degrade your kid over something they don't know or they mess up. They're like, you should have did it this way, and I'm like, did you help me do it that way?
exactly.
Then hop off.
Learn how to do that.
And also at the same time, you want to go the complete opposite end of the spectrum, the stereotypical white parent. I don't understand how you could let your child call you a bitch to your face and cuss you out. And then you sit up there and you're just looking at him thinking, oh, he'll be fine. And then he shoots up a school and you're just like, we don't know what happened. Or when your kid kills himself, you're just like, we did this for him. So I'm like, you're just as dumb as the people who beat their kids.
Those kids that yell at their parents, or
I don't get it.
I don't. Like, it's like...
It's not even the threat. It's not even about the threat of getting hurt. It's not even about that. It's just like that's the big thing when you're younger. It's like you don't do it. But it comes to a point in your life where it's like a level of respect you have. It's like at the end of the day, dude, you're talking like at the end of the day, you're not talking to your dad. You're talking to a human. Watch who you're talking to. Like even I wouldn't like I was thinking that's what I mean. Like if they ever like that whole talk back thing, there's a very fine line between calling a parent out on their bullshit because a lot of parents are full of shit. It's just natural. And of just being played straight up disrespectful. So like if my kid called me out on my bull crap, and I'm like, okay, cool, I get that, yeah. However, if he's straight up calling me a B word and he's getting in my face, he's getting dropped. Like for that, he's getting dropped. I'm like, Doc, you need to take a step back.
Exactly. So like if you're at our age, right? And you're still getting whoopings and stuff like that, what have you not learned? Like, imagine going since you started school all the way up to now, right?
Yeah.
And all throughout those times, you were causing troubles and getting whoopings every single time.
You ain't learned nothing. You're just getting getting used to pain. That's it. Your body's learning how to deal with a belt or whatever object you're getting hit with. That is it.
Me and my siblings, we've learned, right? And from time to time, we do like some disrespectful or bad stuff. So instead of whooping us, our parents take away our privileges that they've actually gotten us.
But again, even with that stuff, that even when if you're not materialistic, that isn't even a punishment. Like for me, like for now it is because I'm now talking to more people and I'm now like being more social. But back then, she would take away everything in my room and just be like I think I literally talk to myself more than I talk to other people, and I still do. Like, do you think you honestly think that is the punishment?
Yeah.
So, and just again, it just depends. That's what I mean. Like, there is the biggest problem is that there's these stereotypes, and in stereotypes in general is a problem, and we could talk all day about those, but specifically when it comes to kids and it comes to adults. The stereotypical teenager, the stereotypical this, the stereotypical kid the stereotypical kid that was born bad is bullshit. The stereotypical teenager is BS because again it depends on like the stereotype that you're supposed to hate your parents at like 15 to 18 is bull.
Yeah, that's bull.
Because you could hate them sooner, or you could hate them later, or you could just not hate them at all.
Like my grandma on my dad's side, she was a single mom, right? Because my dad's dad died when he was my age, right? So she was a single mom raising him and my aunts and uncles by themselves, right? So now that my dad's grown up, she will call, right? But she doesn't have the respect enough to even mention my sister or my mom. And I haven't really talked to my dad about that because he won't like explain it to me. But like to the point where my dad is like sometimes fed up with my grandma, and that happens with my mom's mom as well. Like she has a very strong opinion to where my mom's a logical thinker like us, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I agree with so many of your points, because she thinks logical instead of just off of physical or mental types of things. Like my grandma on my mom's side, she has a very strong opinion, and when she has that opinion, that's her opinion. It's very hard to like change that. So she told me a story where my mom works in an apartment, right? An apartment home. And she was selling this house to a single mom, a black lady. And this lady was like, "You look like you haven't touched a dish in your life." She was like, "Ma'am, with 3 kids in a house, and your husband works basically all day, yes, I have." Because she was the oldest, so she was washing dishes for a while. Just because she said this, just because of how I present myself, look different to what you're used to, doesn't mean that I haven't struggled throughout my life.
Yeah.
And when she told me that, I was like, wow.
And that's a big problem too. It's like because it isn't your experience, it didn't happen. And again, that's the big talk about privilege or whatever, or like white privilege or whatever. But like there's even privilege between all races and all other stuff in all situations. Like again, we're privileged enough to not have to wake up to gunshots. Like
yeah.
But again, that doesn't mean we don't. But again, at the same time, we know that actually happens. So yeah, but.
But on that point, like I still feel like it's just ever since our system has changed, that has caused not just black people but all races to change with it. And there's still people who think how their ancestors thought on the past. Like in Rome, Georgia, right now we have KKK protests going on right now. Like it's crazy. Like we were lucky enough to not be in that situation.
Yeah.
Does it mean it's not happening for us? No.
But again, another problem with that is that you have the opposite end of the spectrum, and again, this is primarily a black problem. Is that, and it even goes back to colorism. If you didn't struggle, you're not black. Like if you weren't born in the hood,
you're not black.
And it even comes down to dark skin to light skin stereotype, and then there's a third variable, brown skin, which makes no damn sense because we're all black. The light skin is seen as the softer, weaker dude. When it comes to the female aspect, they're the more attractive. The brown skin are the in between, and when it comes to the dark skinned male, they're the more attractive. And they're harder and they're more stronger and they can support a family better. The dark skinned female is seen uglier, so they try to be light skinned. And even I'll go here. Remember when our friend David, the dark skinned dude, he was like, "I'll never date a girl that's dark like me." That's self-hatred.
Yeah.
Because he didn't want to have a child his skin tone. So he'll only date light-skinned Mexican or white. That is a form of self-hatred. And he didn't recognize that, so when we tried to tell him, of course, him stuck in his ways, mixed with a bunch of other stuff and just not being mature enough, he doesn't understand that.
The thing is, and I'll admit that, I used to think like that until I actually took time to think on myself. I was like, what is wrong with me? Like I have all this privilege to help people, but I'm still acting like this. When I took the time to actually think on myself, I was like, wow, I can't believe that I thought like that. And you speaking on that right now, it just it's crazy to me that how when we were oppressed back then, we were oppressed, we were beaten, and then we want to turn around, do some of the same things, and then when something else happens that's related to the past, we want to blame it on that.
Yeah, that's the problem. That's what I mean. That's what I mean. Like the forefront. There's two narratives of like the Black Lives Matter movie. You have the people inside it who say it's for to recognize all this other stuff for like black community, and then that's their truth, and then what it's turned into over the years, and what it's slowly getting out of is the thing of we're gonna blame white people for all our failures, even our current failures. Like they caught me robbing a liquor store, but it's not my fault; it's the white man's fault. And I think it's just as wrong. And the big stereotype that like a big thing was that black people can't be racist. I'm like, that is the biggest lie. Or a minority can't be racist. Like, that is the biggest lie. Or you can't be racist to white people. That's a lie too.
Everyone can be racist.
Anyway.
Every race can be racist. I've seen Hispanics be more racist to themselves.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. I'm like, in my experience, what I've seen, minorities are actually more racist than the white people because they hate themselves more than the white people hate themselves. Black people don't even like their own natural look. Some of them, but want to preach black beauty or whatever and all that stuff. I have not. My mom's talked about it too.
You think brought up with the like weave and everything?
Yeah, but
can you explain that to me?
So like, if you want to talk about black beauty, and we are black, we are powerful. Yes, cool. I 100% agree with that. But that means stripped down to your core. If you're gonna live by that, you have to be yourself. You have to love yourself, and that includes your race. And that includes who you are. Like, yes, I am a black woman, and if you want to say, even if you consciously don't even want to, it's not meant because you don't like how you look. You just thought it looks good in a way, shape, or form. That's institutionalized like self-hatred of like, I don't want to look like me, and it's a female problem too in a way, because it's like, I don't want to look like me, so they'll put on pounds of makeup. Not all of them, but some of them. They'll put on all this fake stuff, and then when you take it all off, you look like a completely different person. And when it comes to the aspect of black people, and for an aspect of what I've seen, and black communities, specifically females, they'll say they're beautiful, they say they're this and that, but they'll have all this fake stuff on them. And if you were to take all that fake stuff off them, they'll call themselves ugly.
Well, that's just females.
They'll use terms like nappy, and just in general, they use terms like nappy. They use terms like ugly or or bald headed, because, and that's also, and I feel like that is a female problem in a way, because you'll have these moms. You'll have moms versus dads. The moms will be like, you look like this, this is this. Maybe you should do this. And what will the dad say? You beautiful just the way you are, and we'll leave it at that. And we'll leave it at that. And but when it comes to that, that's what I mean. That's why I mean, like you can't say black is beautiful when you don't even believe in yourself that you are beautiful because you are black.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean.
Now you just confused me at the beginning.
That's what I mean. And then also, but even back to like the interracist thing. My mom always talks about how black people, like usually black dudes, will call whoever they're dating a queen or whatever, that whole thing, like black queens, all that stuff. And she always noticed that how nobody in the Latino community, the guys don't ever do that. They treat their women like crap, and it's like I said, it's more of a culture thing than a race thing. Because again, because the females cherish their sons over their daughters. They favored them over their daughters, and the sons don't really treat not all of them obviously, but like they don't treat the girls right, just like the parents didn't treat the girls right. So I don't know what it is about the Hispanic and Latino community, but like when you could go down the list, like Mexican, Puerto Rican, all of them, it's very rare. It has to be an individual. Like there's no group that does it. So that's I mean that's one of the things that's good that happens in the black community when it comes to that is that we recognize that beauty. The problem is that the females in our group don't recognize their own beauty in that way. Not all of them, obviously, but in the Hispanic community, the Latino community, the the males refuse to, so the girls think that they're not when in reality they are. Because you'll say to a lot of them, "You're very pretty," and they never heard that before. They're just like, "Really?" And it's sad because we've both seen it. We've both definitely seen it in some way, shape, or form, whether we know it or not. We've both been like, oh, we talked to some Mexican girl, we talked to whatever girl in whatever Hispanic country, just say, "Hey, you're very pretty," and they've never heard that before. Just that look of awe and shock on their face.
Some people take that offensive too.
Yeah, because they're like, "We can't be
before?
nothing else." And I'm like,
I can't be nothing else, or
yeah, no, that's just stupid though. It's just like no, you can be whatever you want. I'm just saying that their outside is very appealing to my eyes. I'm sure your brain is just as attractive. It's all it's
Well, like you could just meet someone and say that, and then there'll be offense taken to that. I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't mean offense. I just said that you're very beautiful, like that.
That's what it is.
Exactly.
And it's saddening to see all that. Saddening to see all that, but hopefully it will change with the future, and there'll be more people who appreciate the better things in life, including love, including each other. Because at the end of the day, we need each other. Where people say they can do everything by themselves, they can't. They can't.
Because the country just dumped one of the countries. I forgot. There was another country just dumped like a bunch of diesel into the ocean or the Arctic Circle.
Mm-hmm.
So if the world can make it, then
the world will be fine. It's us that are in threat of danger. The world will be after because everything that has been dumped back into the world came from the planet. So like plastic and that stuff. The world will incorporate, will get rid of it. They'll flush itself out. They'll do what it's got to do. It's got to repair. And if not, they'll just be the earth with plastic. That's it.
yeah.
The real threat is humanity. Humanity's threat to extinction.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So that's what they say when the world is in threat. I'm like, no, it's not. It's the fact that we, in general, are in threat of our own extinction.
We're a living organism, basically.
Yeah, we're viruses on one living organism, and I always bring it back to all that stuff, and we break down, we take, and we take, and we take, and like how locusts are on a field, that's how we are to this. And I believe that it's a natural order of things. We're supposed to take and take and take and then move on from the next or die. And the world will repair itself, and it will still be itself because it's survived worldwide global extinctions, volcanic eruptions, earth seismic shock waves, literally one giant landmass split into 7. And we think
that's
some.
really bad. That's like what I feel like a zombie apocalypse would be. It would just basically be
To clean us out. That's it.
He's remaking the earth, right?
That's it.
That's basically if the apocalypse happened, that's all it would be.
That's what I mean. Like
God trying to reset the earth. He's just clearing everything out.
Yeah, or just like God, or what, or if you believe in that, or the universe, or whatever. But again, yeah, like again, they've survived all these things: dinosaurs, the ice age, the world really froze over for a bunch of millions of years. And you think a plastic bottle is gonna take out the entire globe that's been here longer than us?
Exactly.
That's what I mean.
Basically, that's another point you could put into that. Like that's what happened to the dinosaurs. The dinosaurs were just like that until the meteor came. And the humans were.
Yeah, that's what. But even then, you go here. The wisest thing that we know is the Earth. The smartest thing we know is the Earth. Exactly. The funny thing was that before I came to the conclusion, I always like to play this game in my head, and I was like, you were like, Mount Rushmore, and I was always trying to think of a Mount Rushmore of wisdom. Personally, it's the game I used to play, and I think about all the things I've seen, all the things I've heard, all the shows I've watched, and I always came up with three, but always be stuck on the fourth. It would be Yoda from Star Wars,
Oh yeah.
Uncle Iroh from Avatar: The Last
Yeah.
Airbender,
I
Master Oogway from Kung Fu Panda, and I was always stuck in the fourth one. The fourth one is the world, because the world is the smartest, oldest thing we know, and the wisest. Because everything that we use is gonna go back into the earth one way or another, and we take everything from it. So that's the four wisest things that I know in my lifetime. Uh, and so that's what I mean. The Earth will be okay. And people are like, we need to save Earth Day. Like it needs to be Human Day because we need to save us. Because even when it comes to other creatures that we've caused to go extinct, the Earth will probably make them will replace them, and will bring like another organism, or will rebirth them in some way, shape, or form that we can't understand. Because we don't understand that we think the world revolves around us, if you, even if not on an individual thing, as a platform, as a race.
Yeah.
Wise, we think the world. Oh, what the heck? We think the world revolves around us, and then you realize how insignificant that thought and that mindset really is. Oh my God, the light just went out here. But anyways, but yeah, you'll see how insignificant it really is, how small, how simple-minded that train of thought is. And it's the same thing as thinking that the world revolves around you, just on an expanded scale. So in reality, when we say we've matured, in reality, the greatest thing we know, oh, there you go, is that we don't know crap. The best thing we know is that we don't know anything. That is the smartest thing we know. And a lot of people forget that, so they think, and the minute they think that they stop learning, and there's nothing left to learn, is when they start to fail.
Oh
yeah. And that goes from like, that's the same thing as like a form of complacency, because complacency is like the number one killer of success, because the minute you feel like you make it is the beginning of the end. The same thing with us. The minute you feel like there's nothing to learn or nothing to do is the minute you've lost your worth to the world, and that is when the decline and the death starts to come.
And I think people say Earth Day is because they're afraid of death.
Mm-hmm.
To like die too early, because I feel like if
it's fear
happening, then the Earth's gonna implode, or something else is gonna happen prematurely to what they want. The only fear I have of death, if I die, is having my family suffer, or having my friends suffer. Because I don't want them to constantly remember me and feeling sad. I want them to remember me and be happy.
Yeah, it just depends how you look at it. Are you going to mourn the death or celebrate the life? And that's why I think that's the biggest confusion. I think I would much rather have people celebrate the life I lived instead of the moment it ended. You celebrate the moments I was here, the moments we've had together, and the big times and the times that we've had here. And that is the parts that make it the most special.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing that needs to be taken away from it when it comes to death. And the whole thing of fear is the reason whether or not it's actually the reason religion was made. Because religion is man-made, it is a structure, and it gives people reassurance of stuff that they don't know.
Yeah.
You got to think about that. And like in the terms of like, not God, because God and religion are two separate things. You take away the man-made thing of religion, it's like, okay, we don't know what happens after we die. We only see our friends leave. What do we do to reassure the public? Oh, that there's this magical kingdom that if you do good, this is where you go. If you do bad, you'll go down and be in painful for eternity, and this will convince people to be good to each other. Because that's what the biggest story of religion is. The religion is convince people that there is a man up in the sky who watches everything you do for every single day, and he has a list of 10 set of rules. And you break any of these rules, he will send you down to a place full of fire and hell and torture and pain and burning to cook and die and feel pain in there till the end of time. But he loves you.
Now, wait. That part right there, that's one thing that people actually think will happen. Yes, you can sin. If you believe in God like me, yes, you can sin. But the thing is, you have to be a big enough person to recognize that what you did was wrong. So you know how?
Yes, I know what you mean, but I'm saying that there is a separation between, do you believe in an overall creator and an overall biggest stratus work between everything with being, or do you believe in what was man-made, a book, or do you believe in the stratus work of stuff out here that we've actually seen in the real world? That's the difference I'm talking about. That's what I mean. The religion that's not tied into actual God is more man-made. It is meant to keep people in line. It's kept the people to control people, and it's the biggest. It is the biggest project of lies and hypocrisies. And that's not just Christianity. You can just say any religion in any way, shape, or form. There's always good lessons away in it. There's also bad lessons from it. You can even go to Muslims. They believe the last thing said in the book. So when they're at the beginning of the book, when I forgot, I think it was like the Prophet Muhammad or whatever, was talking about peace, love, and understanding. But the last thing was when they wrote was when he was a warmonger and he said, "Stone the unbeliever, kill homosexuals, this, and that." So that's what I mean. It's man-made. And in reality, we can't speak for a higher creator because the highest point of human for us in thinking-wise is human. You hear me?
Yeah, I heard you. I said exactly.
I didn't hear you.
Oh, my bad.
But yeah, so that's what I mean when it comes to that, as far as the structure of it. So, but that's all it means. Do I think it has its place? Absolutely. Do I think it's necessary to have structure in your life? Absolutely. There's nothing against it, but I just mean that is it full of crap sometimes? 100%. It's just part of what it is, and that's just naturally what how the cookie crumbles. But again, I think this is a good place to stop. Again, thank you for coming on. I'd love to have you back on again. Thank you all for watching. I've been episode 20 of the Smorgasbord podcast. Thank you all for watching. Stay safe. Love you all. Bye.